not one for MCU theories, and frankly, places like Screen Crush do them way better than I ever possibly could. And I watch them regularly. However, I do analyze and overanalyze everything in the MCU and film in general, but particularly the MCU lately. I've read a lot of comic books in my life, particularly in the early 1990s, when I was 10 and had time to do so. Once I was hooked, I was absolutely addicted. And Marvel Studios has managed to capture the spirit of that addiction. Spirit of addiction? Sounds like it should be Tony Stark's yacht. Marvel Studios has managed to give me a similar fix thanks to 2 stories pulled from and inspired by the comics. All that said, I, guy who doesn't like MCU theories, may have found the secret to all that's going to come in the MCU in the first season of Loki. In the very first episode, in fact. After sort of accepting his fate at being stuck at the TVA, Loki makes an offhand comment about how this place is a nightmare. Dingnan mentions how that's a different department. Also, Owen Wilson in Loki is totally Dingnan from Bottle Rocket. Although he's definitely not as stupid as Dingnan, he has the same hopeful spirit and is so into jet skis, which I don't recall Dingnan mentioning, but it feels like it would totally be his thing. It seems like he'd be happiest on a jet ski. Marvel loves to plant seeds. Sometimes those seeds are Easter eggs, sometimes they're just Easter eggs that are left at that and aren't meant to be anything more. Sometimes they're meant to be more. Sometimes they're jokes, and let's be honest, this could be a joke and this video could be totally irrelevant. Sometimes, though, they are seeds that grow into a sequoia and sprout into the forest moon of Endor. It's important to note that Michael Waldron, who wrote some great stuff for Rick and Morty, created the Loki series. He also wrote Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Multiverse of Madness showed us what nightmares are, or I guess just dreams. They're other us's having a really bad day in the case of a nightmare, or a good day maybe in the case of a dream, or just a day in the case of most dreams, or a weird day in a lot of dreams. Season 1 of Loki taught us that branches in time result in new universes. This was also told to us in Avengers Endgame by the Ancient One. And it was probably told to us a bunch of other places that I'm not mentioning or remembering at the moment. But maybe this is just a department in a big company. Maybe there's an NIA, Nightmare Incursion Authority, as well. It started at the end of Loki with the death of He Who Remains. The cracks in the multiverse then appeared, when we had multiple Sony Spideys and their various villains in the mainline MCU. Things further broke down when Wanda went mad thanks to a book. The result? An incursion, or a series of incursions apparently, that lead to a secret war, or a series of secret wars. What caused all this isn't important. Well, it's probably important, but it's not germane to my point right now. Maybe it was the Avengers' fault for correcting Thanos and his snap. But now there are like 57 things that made the multiverse vulnerable at this point. We also know that Darkhold was destroyed. And I assume some scary Marvel stuff formerly held at bay by that book has now been kind of unleashed. I mean, we know the scary Marvel stuff exists thanks to Werewolf by Night. But I think maybe even more of it kind of got out there. Mobius mentions having brought in Kree, Titans, and vampires. Maybe now they'll have to bring in even more monsters and such creatures of the night. Perhaps Unleashed to be dealt with by Blade, whose movie I think just got a new creative team actually, as I read earlier today, who we know is coming. Probably with Dane Whitman and maybe with Moon Knight. It's not the version of the Night Stalkers I love, but I'll take it. Or maybe the Midnight Suns. Mobius also says that existence is chaos, and Wanda's magic is chaos magic. Now again, maybe it's nothing, maybe I'm reaching, but maybe it's something, and chaos has been unleashed. We know Loki is in the newly decorated TVA, or whatever it now really is. We know there's a nightmare department. Well, unless Mobius was joking. But if there is, I'm looking forward to some stuff Kid Josiah would have watched with the lights on and during the day. The supernatural is coming to the MCU. Well, it's already here at this point. I guess it already came when Doctor Strange did. But that's besides the point. But it's no longer contained or held at bay. So now Mobius and Loki can do some nightmare pruning, and maybe Blade can chop off some pumpkin heads.